Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and true. 5 passengers set sail that day to listen to Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast we follow 2 first-time readers, Sheta and Justin. We chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling Mistborn, the Well of Ascension Chapters 34 through 38. And now, let us throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe. Thank you, Joe. Welcome, everyone, to Cosmere Chronicles. Once again, we will be taking you on a mediocre adventure as we explain everything. Why mediocre? Because if I keep your expectations low, then they can only be improved. Once again, I'm joined by Justin and Sheta. How are the two of you doing on this nice, warm, sunny afternoon?
Well, Joe, I have to say, you have now given me a challenge of trying to make those expectations go even lower than you've set them.
Don't do that.
How are we supposed to get our sweet, sweet money?
Wait, there's money? I'd like some money.
Not anymore, Justin. You've lowered the
Oh,
quality
damn
so
it,
bad.
and it's all my fault. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. The moment you opened your mouth.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Well, there's no money yet, but if we can become the #1 podcast in the world, then we'll be raking in all the cash.
Yep, this podcast is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends, if you weren't aware.
Oh, don't say that. That's cool.
Yeah, I have not seen a Raid Shadow Legends months. I don't think they're into that now.
They're not quite up where they used to be. That's why they're slumming with us.
It's either NordVPN or like Helix,
Helix
mattress.
Sleep Mattress, yep. Oh my God, I'm sick of hearing that one.
All right. Yep, so...
I mean, I would love a Helix Sleep Mattress. If you send me one, I'll pimp it out like you've never heard. If Helix is listening right now.
All right, so after our little intro there, I will ask you guys some questions about yourself so people can get to know you. And yeah, we'll do that like we usually do, which some people love, I assume.
Assumedly, at least one person does.
Yep,
hey, people like all kinds of stupid shit.
Hey, don't judge.
All right, so we will start. We will go into questions this week. Let's go into the realm of movies.
All right.
So first, I will ask you your favorite Steven Spielberg movie.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I feel like that's my answer too.
I knew it. That's why I said it so fast. So you can't copy me.
I feel like we're forgetting something. He's only made like 2, right?
The fact that I can ask this question about your favorite Steven Spielberg movie just shows how many good movies he has made.
Oh yeah.
Well, mine, maybe there's a little bit recency bias because I just watched it, but I'm going to have to go with E.T. Just watched it last week, and every time I watch it, I always am reminded by how fucking good that movie is.
I realized which one I was forgetting. It was Raiders of the Lost Ark. That is my favorite one. Or any of those, actually. Any of the 3 Indiana Jones movies he made will count for me. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and of course, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
You don't consider Last Crusade?
I can't even stand by that for a second. No, Last Crusade is the actual 3rd one. I'm sorry for trolling you.
Someone was getting ready to type some shit in the comments.
I've only seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull once when I saw it in the theater, and when I saw it, I thought it was okay.
I've seen it a number of times.
Well, I know you like Cate Blanchett's movie character in that.
I have an affection for that movie. I'm not a hater on it, but I don't really think it's a good Indiana Jones movie. I mean, just like everything in the modern day, maybe I've judged it too harshly after what they've done since, but it's got its moments and it's got some real low points in the movie, that's for sure.
Next, I'll ask you, what is your favorite rom-com movie?
Rom-com? Well, mine is Shaun of the Dead, a romantic comedy with zombies. That's my get-out-of-jail-free card on that question.
No, we won't count
that. It is in the literal tagline, so I count it.
Yeah, well, I don't. I want you to think harder.
Do a real one.
Alright, well, you guys answer. I don't fucking know.
My favorite is 50 First Date.
I will go with 500 Days of Summer.
You're asking the wrong person, man. I need to stick with my answer.
What about like there's something about Mary or something? Isn't that a rom-com technically?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. Sure, I guess I could say that one.
Oh,
Or
I
you
forgot
can
about
pick like
that. I may have to
some of your.
switch mine to There's Something About Mary. Wait, Sheeta, have you watched that yet? Because I remember an earlier podcast episode you said you had.
I think I watched the full movie. I think I snuck watching it when I was like when it first came out, since I wasn't allowed to watch movies like that. But yeah,
All right.
maybe I'll do a rewatch. Justin, what are you picking
What?
then? For your
All right,
movie?
If I'm not allowed to pick Shaun of the Dead, that's as fine as any movie.
Yeah, we'll leave it. We'll stop picking.
Okay.
You know what? We'll leave movies because I just thought of a question right now and I don't want to forget it, even though I have never read the books or watched the movies. But we'll just ask you: Team Jacob or Team Edward?
Ooh. Honestly, Joe, we have to do that podcast where you and Justin read it, and I'm the host.
Justin's read him before.
Yeah, but he hasn't talked about it.
Sheta loves hearing me mock and yell at those books quite a bit.
Justin's comments are hilarious. You know what? We should read Akatar, actually. That was the book. That
Oh,
was our
God.
next one.
My answer to your question, Joe, is it's only Team Edward because Bella doesn't like Jacob like that. It's that simple. There's no further discussion on it.
Yeah, it's actually not a good love triangle. Like,
It's
people
more
always talk
like
about it.
it's more like a romance with a third wheel stalker.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds more accurate. Because she never likes him. She never goes that step. Where
Wait,
she's like,
wait.
She just
Are we talking about Twilight or Well of Ascension?
basically basically the same kind of thing.
yeah, it is very similar. Yeah, she won't admit it because she wants to stay loyal to her boyfriend and stuff. So she'll never
Because
admit it.
Jacob
But
is hot, but she doesn't like him like that. That's how I interpreted it, at least.
Yeah, same with Zane. So, same exact situation.
Yes, exactly the same.
Vin
Yeah,
thinks Zane is hot. It says so
I
in the
don't
book.
remember that. Are you just
Okay.
making stuff up again, Sheta?
No, it says it.
Oh, okay. And then she looked at his glistening abs and thought, Ellen's such a pussy compared to this guy. I don't remember that sequence.
She does it
Well,
in her own way.
You didn't read
in her
closely
way.
enough, Justin.
I guess
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, that was a whole
Just
chapter.
I'm reading too surface level, I guess.
All right. Well, I think we answered. Oh yeah, I guess I will do my. Like I said, I've never read or watched Twilight. My only knowledge comes from my sister, where she said that she always preferred Jacob because she felt like when the main girl was with the vampire, that she just did whatever he told her to do and never thought or anything. And she seemed more independent when she was the werewolf.
Oh, I actually agree with that. My thing is she doesn't love the werewolf. I think she wants a, I don't know what you describe that weird ass shit as.
I don't want to say on the podcast.
Oh, God. You going to go into some 50 Shades of Grey stuff, Sheta?
I've never watched or read 50 Shades of Grey,
Yeah, but it's
but I
based on
very much
Twilight,
look
right?
forward to it.
It was originally written it as a Twilight
Mm-hmm.
fanfic, but then decided to change.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out when I have to.
All right.
But
Well,
I'm Team Edward, if I didn't.
all right. Well, I think we've lost enough of our viewers. Let's
Yep.
get back to Brandon Sanders.
We're not going to talk about no romance book. Now to get back to Well of Ascension.
It's
What
not
is
a
Vin gonna choose?
Will they or won't they?
Well of Ascension is not a romance book.
Half the book is them thinking about their feelings about each other and then about politics and people dying everywhere. That is a romance book.
Is Vin gonna marry Ellen? Has been a big topic for this entire book. Like,
Can she overcome her own personal feelings and insecurities about what her value is to see that he loves her in a way that is true and pure?
or is he just using her? These are real things in the book.
So we went through the chapters this week. So before we do that, let's go into last week's recap. And it's back to Justin's turn to recap it.
All right. So they got back from Straff, right? This wasn't when they talked to him, correct?
Yeah, this was after Elend had found out he had deposed.
Wait, it's after? Okay, yeah. So he talks to the assembly. They he's all confused why they're doing this, but then some thing happens where Cett appears, and he's nominated by beloved old Phylon, who's got his own weird little plan. Everyone's annoyed because Elend made all of this possible, but Elend stands by his beliefs on, freedom of the people to choose things. I know it's later, but Vin does suspect Demu and watches him do stuff. She realizes before that what she thinks the deepness is, believes it is the mists, and I think Sazed did something. How good was that? A+?
No, you said beloved old Phylon, so that is an automatic disqualification.
What?
Everyone
my
hates
memory is everyone picked him as their favorite character last week.
No, I can go back. The exact thing was, Sheta was like, man, Justin, I knew you were going to love Phylon. You're like, whoa, I did not say that.
I guess I keep that.
Yeah, you didn't even defend him.
Well, no, he sucks.
But besides that, yeah, that was decent.
Decent enough is my middle name.
No, it's not. You don't.
Shh. I'm trying to get that going. I want people to associate me with absolute mediocrity.
Well, all right. Well, so I'll ask you. So we went through a bunch of chapters. We finished off part 3. So once again, I'll just ask you your thoughts on these chapters.
Well, some action happened after a bit of not having too much, which was surprising. I didn't expect that. I'd kind of just settled into this being a purely talk about politics book most of the time, which I enjoy, so that's not a complaint. And we got to know quite a bit about a couple characters. I thought that was an interesting little side thing to do.
Yes, I enjoyed learning more about certain characters.
Oh, I know you did.
Yeah, I feel like this was a really Sheta-y amount of chapters.
That does not sound like a positive. It sounds like this was a sheety amount of a bunch of chapters.
These chapters are Sheta-y. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but now, but like what Justin was saying, now it sounds like you're like, man, these chapters were shitty.
A lot of my favorite characters got moments to shine, so I'm really excited.
Well, let's go into going through all the chapters, starting with chapter 34. There's a place for me in the lore of the anticipation. I thought myself the announcer, the prophet foretold to discover the hero of ages. Renouncing Elend then would have been to renounce my new position, my acceptance by the others. And so I did not. Alright, so we begin this chapter as Elend, Ham, and Sazed are going through books trying to think of ways to help Elend or to prevent Cett from becoming king. And with them, it's, Ham's not really, he's just going through books and asking just kind of philosophical questions. And yeah, also Tindwell's in the room as well, but she is not helping to research.
I really like that description of Ham as being, he's a philosopher, he's a thinker, but he's not a studier. I thought that was a really interesting distinction for Elend to notice about him.
Or he's a Khandra. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I'm watching out for everything, so.
And in there's also a former obligator named Norden helping them as well. And he's a fairly cheerful man, which does not really match with any other obligator. Norden manages to find in ledgers that Cett had been doing business dealings with Luthadel in the past, so that means that he is more accomplished than he wants people to believe. And Elend asks Sazed if he has found anything, but Sazed says that Elend was just too good at writing up the government laws, so there isn't a way to prevent Cett from becoming king if the assembly chooses. Norden suggests that maybe they just let Cett take the throne. Why not? Elend responds by asking if Cett would follow the laws they have. But Norden says likely not, and Cett will just do whatever he wants. And Elend also brings up that Cett will bring chaos, and that the places he has conquered are in turmoil after he leaves.
Another good thing to add in, so it's not just their pride trying to make him keep it, like things actually do go worse. I appreciated that kind of thing. I don't want to just assume he's going to be worse just because our heroes don't want him, as like at least a pragmatic choice, even if it fucks over the ska.
Yeah. I didn't know he was just like a bad leader too. Like, his people suffer a lot.
Yeah. He says it later, too, that he makes the Ska suffer in a way that the Lord Ruler would balk at a bit, or makes
Oh
him
my
look
God.
peaceful. So he's just set up as just
He's
a
the
really
worst.
bad choice. Yeah, just the worst. You thought Straff was bad,
Yeah, at least he's Ellen's dad. This guy's just like the worst of the nobles, like
Uh,
worst, the
Well,
Ska's
Straff
worst
doesn't have
nightmare.
the
Sounds
same
like.
level as. Yeah, he doesn't have the same level of ambition as I think Cett has, which makes him a lot scarier. Straff would
Hmm.
come in and make everything just more or less the same, I think, but maybe a little less well run. But Cett has a
Hmm.
very specific way he does things that makes him very dangerous to everybody.
Also, the people in the story, they have said that, Cett would be the better of the two choices they had to pick, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's
that's what
still
they
not a
think.
good choice.
He'd be the better because he's offering something. That'd be about it.
And Ellen tells Ham that he was right. At the beginning of all this, Ham suggested that Ellen should make an alliance with one of the armies, and Ellen refused. Now, it looks like that's what the people want anyway. Sazed pipes in and says that it's not Ellen's due to do what the people want, but to do what his conscience feel is best. And if the people do not wish for him to lead, then they'll choose someone else. He cannot please everyone, and trying to guess what the people wish of him will only lead. Vin comes into the room, and she's excited to tell Ellen about Demu, but she doesn't want to discuss it in front of the others. I think when she comes in here, she also tries to climb on top of a stack of books and steady herself on there because Mistborn just have to be fucking weird. She brings up that she had heard that people in the city have been sick, and Ellen tells her that he already knows that, and that is because some of the wells are poisoned. And Vin thinks in her mind, and she's upset that Ellen hadn't already told her about this, even though she knows that she should not be upset.
It's really interesting to have a protagonist who has these kind of just, irrational feelings that, usually a reader's would be annoyed at. But to have her recognize them every single time they happen too. Like whenever she has an emotional reaction, she immediately is like, no, 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 I shouldn't think that, but I do still. What does that mean? It's a really interesting way to write the character.
Yeah, it's just honest. Like those are just her feelings.
Mm-hmm.
She's just a
But
girl.
even when it's honest and makes sense, it can throws off so much. Because people
Yeah.
don't want characters who they think are stupid or unreasonable, even if that's very realistic. So I think this is a very interesting middle ground to write her with these insecurities and feelings and also make her likable and relatable at the same time to you, the reader, not just some girl.
It is a unique way to do it. But Vin is kind
Hmm.
of special too.
Yeah, and it's
She's
also
a little,
believable,
she's
yeah.
smarter. Yeah.
Hmm. She's very, observant and really thinks about what she's doing and why, because that's how she survived for a long time.
Now, Sazed mentions that he can find no holes, and that one of them would have found it when Sazed had been asked by Ellen to go over the laws back before they went up. And Tyndall asks and confirms, wait, Sazed, you had read over the laws before it was ratified? Ellen says that Sazed's suggestions and ideas were instrumental.
And Tyndall just responds, I see.
Ellen gets upset at this and tells Tyndall that she will not insult a friend of his in his house, and she apologizes to Ellen. But Ellen tells her that she must apologize to Sazed or leave the room. Tyndall thinks about this for a moment, and then she just leaves the room. And Vin thinks about how much Ellen has changed. And she tries to bring up the deepness with him, but Ellen is too preoccupied and tells her that he doesn't really have time right now. Vin thinks that Ellen doesn't rely on people as much for support now. He doesn't need her anymore. She tries to ignore this and knows that Ellen loves her, but she remembers that he had once dumped her before for the needs of his house. Then she hears Reen's voice whisper in her mind once again, leave him first. It will hurt less.
Oh no.
Yeah. You happy to see Rain, Sheta?
Yeah.
Everyone's
It's
favorite
interesting
character,
to
Reen.
get the sense that Vin, yeah, Rain, that she feels that love, like being loved, is being needed. Like, I don't think she knows the concept of just being loved for no reason. Like, if she's not useful, she has no value, then people won't want her around, and that's very sad.
Yeah, it's still her old mentality.
Hmm.
I think it's also interesting showing too that she's thinking about that time when Ellen tried to break things off with her back when he felt like he had to before the final empire fell. So it's like even a year later and stuff, and even though they had worked things out, she still thinks about that, thinking that he might still do that again if it will help the government if he dumps me.
And honestly, I think he might. He cares a lot about this stuff. He cares about this stuff more than he cares about himself. But I think he cares about her more than he cares about this stuff for himself, you know. But I think that loving her and being with her in his mind is a selfish act for himself, you know. So I could very much see him being in a situation where he feels compelled to do that, you know, not knowing how much that would fuck her up too.
Well, that's pretty much exactly what Tyndall brought up in our chapters we read last week.
Yep. I'm just saying I'm on the side of him picking the people. Not that I support that, I just think it's what he would do, in my opinion.
All right, and then Vin hears a noise outside, and she looks out the window, and she finds Zane floating up. So the two of them go onto the roof, and once they're up there, Zane attacks her, and he's attacking more dangerously this time. And while he's attacking, Vin realizes that Zane is burning ATM, and she feels fear. She had always feared this day, when she would be attacked without ATM. And Vin desperately tries to fight back, but it's just useless. She's not able to do anything. Zane finally stops and says that it is true. She really doesn't have any ATM. Vin confirms this and says that she used the last of it against Cett's attack.
Yeah, I figured Zane wasn't trying his hardest here, because I think she would just be dead if he was.
I was really sad and scared here because I thought that maybe actually like finally snapped and is and is just really trying to kill him, trying to kill Vin.
For a second, I thought this was going to be the attack on Elend that was ordered, you know. But then when, like I said, once she was still fighting and she wasn't dead yet, I started to think, I don't think it is, because he's competent. If he were taking that very seriously and he had ATM and she didn't, and she was lured into a false sense of security like that, like when she thinks, oh, he wants to spar, I think she would be dead 100%.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just a fact if you have ATM and the other person.
Well, yeah, but before they said strategies to fight against ATM, you know, they have to be out there. Getting somebody in a situation where they have no choice but to die, stuff like that, you know. But you'd need to be ready for that, I think. You'd need to have a plan of some sort. Mm-hmm. And I think you'd need to move real fast, you know.
Zane tells Vin that Straff wants him to kill her. He tells her that he doesn't have to kill her in order to fulfill Straff's order. He simply needs to take her away. And Zane asks Vin to come with him. They can both leave the city and deny Elend and Straff of their tools. They could be free.
I can't believe he actually asked her.
Yeah, did you want him to, Sheta?
Yeah. He thought about saying, or, you know, he's been kind of saying that he wanted them to just be Mistborn together and be free of all these politics, so I never thought he'd actually ask.
And Vin responds by telling Zane that the thing between them isn't what he thinks. She loves Elend. And Zane thinks that he's seen the longing in her eyes, and her decision isn't as easy as she implies it is. Zane says that this is the way it always is. He tells her to look closer at him, and Vin realizes that Zane is Elend's brother. He tells her about how he was raised in the shadows by Straff. He doesn't hate Elend, but sometimes he envies him. Elend has everything, and it seems he doesn't appreciate it. Zane says that he came to warn her. The Koloss army attacked and pillaged the town of Susina earlier. Refugees from there came to Straff's camp, and Straff led them forward into loot. The city of Susina is close, only a day away, and these refugees will bring fear and tax their supplies even.
I was impressed with Straff for that strategy of letting them through like that, knowing that Elend would be too kind to turn them away.
That's so mean. That's like a villain, like throwing a civilian, an innocent, off a bridge, so the hero has to go save him, and they punch the hero. You know, like.
Well, especially in a little bit when it says that Straff, there were no like young men of fighting age were there because he conscripted all of them into his army. You know, so it's just women, children, and the elderly. And I have to assume any women who were too beautiful who ran through. You know, like he was not even. He couldn't even do that without being an asshole. That's what I'm saying. You know.
Oh my gosh, he's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Zane tells Vin to think of his offer. Think of the man who claims to love her but doesn't understand her. If Vin leaves, it would be better for both of them. After Zane leaves, he thinks about how he could tell in her eyes that she still doesn't believe. Well, proof is coming, and she'll soon understand what Elend truly thought of her.
Zane knows just how to sow seeds of discord in her mind, too. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, he's a little sneaky.
And I wonder if it's because he understands her or because they do have a lot in common in those ways, because he's had a hard upbringing too, you know. I imagine he doesn't trust very easily, you know.
Yeah. I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I think he just is saying truths to her. like
As he
his
sees them,
truths.
right? Yeah, I agree
Yep.
with you.
Also,
Makes
Zane.
the whole thing very, very sad.
Yeah. I can't believe Zane is like a mixture of Kelsier and her brother. Like, oh, I feel like that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, that's got to be a bit confusing.
Yeah, you're like, because yeah, the things he's saying is like what she's always been taught by her brother.
hmm
And
But also
this
the
is some
freedom
kinky
Kelsey
stuff.
represented, right?
Yep, Kelsier's freedom and Mistborn stuff.
Yeah, this has the potential to be some pretty fucked up stuff. I don't think it's gonna be, but it has that potential.
I like it.
Well, of course you do.
Oh no, I'm revealing too much. Joe, just X that out.
No, I have the point of inspiration. Play it twice. That's what I say.
I don't see what there is about you saying you like that story when everyone knows that you like Zane.
Yeah, but I'm saying all the creepy reasons I like it and stuff.
Nah, it's fine. All right.
Every
Anything
podcast
else?
needs at least one D, Sheta. As you know, me and Joe are nice and innocent, so it's you.
Yeah, that's
Well, I'm
That's
the
because-
innocent one.
yeah. That's because we're not talking about anime. It's,
No. We don't need to get into that. Anywho, about Mistborn.
I mean, Justin. All people need to do is look at some of your art.
Anywho, about
I'm not the
Mistborn,
one
we don't
that
need to
has
look at any of my art. No. We don't need any of that. I'm very innocent. I have a reputation to protect here.
I don't know. I'm looking at this image on your Patreon right now.
I don't think Vin and Elend should be together or should even hold hands until marriage. That's all I'm saying. Moving on.
You're a hypocrite.
All right. Anything else in this chapter you two want to go over?
Saying this stuff, usual stuff I like.
All right. We will travel on forward through chapter 35. But I do so now. Let it be known that I, Quan, Worldbringer of Terrace, am a fraud.
Finally.
A little late now, bro.
He's so full of himself. Quan.
Oh yeah, this guy is hilarious the way he writes.
He's like Dr. Doom.
A little bit, yeah. It takes everything so seriously. Or so melodramatically, I mean, sure, a lot of crazy stuff happens, but still.
He is pretty theatrical.
So the chapter begins, and Vin is putting on a dress as she readies herself to go meet with Cett. She thinks about how it would feel to wear a dress and go to a ball, not as Valette Renew or as Vin the Ska Thief, but to be herself. Tindwyl comes in and compliments Vin and says that she looks beautiful. Vin points out that Tindwyl hadn't seen Elend as much anymore, and Tindwyl responds by saying that she doesn't have much more to teach. He's not where he needs to be, but she can see that he will grow into the position. Then we cut outside, and Elend, Ham, and Breeze are waiting by the carriages about to leave to go to Cett's. And they are also going to be bringing in about 200 soldiers with them. And Elend tells Breeze that he doesn't have to go, which Breeze immediately takes him up on the offer.
I would too if I were Breeze. Jesus. Why the fuck would you want to go there? Hell no.
Vin
It
arrives.
shows a lot about Breeze's character that he was willing to go until he was told otherwise.
I thought that's I thought it was really interesting that he did seriously. Like, I thought it was joking when he was like, "Oh, then I won't go." I thought it was a joke.
A man like Breeze,
like,
everything he says is a joke and dead serious at the same time.
Yeah, that's funny. That's true.
Somebody like that does not speak lightly, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because to him, everything he says is, for a purpose and an effect on another person,
Yeah, it's very deliberate.
To keep up the facade of what he's like, while also making sure what he wants to happen happens as much as possible.
All right, then Vin arrives and they set off. And Elend knows as they're going that he had never accompanied Vin to a ball. So they arrive at Keep Hastings, which is where Cett has moved into. And when they go in, the soldiers stay in the main entrance. And Vin sees Damu there and she shoots a glare at him. Part of her simply wanted to throw him into a dungeon, but she doesn't do it because she wants to find out who he's reporting to and learn what information he has betrayed.
Yeah, when she thought that, I was like, Vin, what are you talking about? Like, you have no evidence yet. That could be so bad if she'd done that.
Yeah. I'm like, it's a good thing you didn't just start interrogating people. You might have killed all your friends on accident.
I guess. She seemed like she wanted to just cut him down where he stood at a few parts, you know?
Uh-huh.
But again, I know a lot of that is because she is so desperate for it to be him. I mean, they even say that explicitly that she's thinking
That's so
that.
mean. I don't.
But like, she knows that about herself, you know? But like, I would rather have it be a guy I kind of know than one of my good close friends, you know?
That's so mean.
Yeah.
Oh, I really liked him, so I'm really sad for her to be
But
like,
there's
come
an
on.
illogical part of you that thinks, oh, if I kill him, it's over with, and I don't have to think about it anymore, you know?
All right, so Vin and Elend, along with Ham, Damu, Spook, and about 10 guards, head, up in the mansion to meet with Cett. When they arrive, Cett is already sitting down and eating. So
I
they sit
love the
down.
description of him eating this super messy food purposely to make Ellen feel uncomfortable. That made me like him quite a bit.
It's so rude.
Yeah, but rude for a purpose, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's just,
Like, he acts like a belligerent bore, but he's actually, like they said earlier, a lot smarter than he pretends, you know?
yeah, it's all for
Mm-hmm.
purpose.
So they sit down, and Vin looks at Cett and his son and thinks about how one of them is a Mistborn, and she's still leaning towards Cett. Ellen asks why Cett wanted to meet with him and if this is about his daughter. Cett just laughs and says that Ellen can keep her. The day she ran off was one of the few joys in the last month. Ellen suggests that he might harm her, and Cett replies that Ellen won't. Cett reveals that he knew that Breeze was a spy the entire time, but Ellen points out that Cett let Breeze advise him and only ran him out when he had found out Breeze was met with Alrian. Cett laughs and says that he doesn't care if she seduced Breeze. And Vin is surprised to hear that Cett thinks that Alrian is the one that seduced Breeze. Cett responds by saying that he could see how useless Breeze is with. Cett says that he had tried to turn Breeze and decided to kill him when he realized that he was not able to do it. And Ellen once again suggests that he could harm Alrian, but Cett responds by saying Ellen is an honest guy. Honest men aren't meant to be kings. Ellen says that Cett is honest too, but Cett claims that he's simply blunt. He's already told Ellen 3 lies, and Ellen will have a hard time trying to figure them out.
As soon as he said that, I went through to try to figure out what the 3 lies were, and I was quickly like, I bet this is the lie. I bet he told him some different number or none. Like, a guy like that, you can't trust him when he says something like that either. So I felt stupid for even trying to figure out what they were.
I'll ask you both then.
Like, I was falling right.
What do you think the 3 lies were?
Yeah, I don't think they were anything. I think he's lying and telling the truth as he wishes, and these like 3 lies are just a number he threw out there because somebody like Ellen probably thought like I did, starts wondering what they are. You do that, you're already off balance in this conversation, which is what he wants from Ellen, you know, which is shown by the way, like how they said, eating the messy, gross food to keep them all off kilter. What about you, Sheta? You got any?
Of his lies? I think he's lying about knowing about Breeze. I think he was a little. And then also, I think he might be exaggerating about Arian seducing him.
All right, we'll go on. Ellen asks what Cett will do if he gets the throne. And Cett answers that he'll kill Elend because he can't have the previous king. But if Elend would step down, vote for Cett, and then leave Luthadel, then Cett will let him live. Cett will also dissolve the assembly. Letting people rule themselves is fine when it's peaceful, but not when there are armies in Kolos. He will also put the Ska back to work, and that the people, they will put Cett on the throne because they know the Lord Ruler's way is the best way. Ellen says that Cett is wrong about one thing. They will not choose him. They will choose Elend. When faced with freedom or slavery, they will choose freedom. And Ellen gets up to leave, but Cett says, sit down, we still have more to do. He says that people are starving and that he has a lot of food. He will trade them some of the food. But Ellen tells Cett that there is no ATM. This confuses Cett because of what Breeze had been saying before. Ellen points out that Breeze wanted Cett to come to Luthadel, but Cett says that Breeze had tried to keep him from coming here, and he realizes now that Breeze had played him in order to get him. While they are talking, Vin looks around to see if there are any secret Alamancers. She burns bronze and can sense a couple of thugs and a Tin Eye disguised as serving staff, and there was no copper cloud hiding them. And Vin doesn't sense anything from Cett or his son, so either they aren't Alamancers, or they aren't burning anything because they don't want to risk exposing themselves. And Vin tries to flare bronze to pierce the copper clouds and find hidden Alamancers, but she still senses nothing. And Cett asks Elend if he had searched the city for the ATM. He suggests maybe check the statues. But Ellen tells him that they are neither hollow nor made of ATM. And Elend says that they have checked everything throughout the city. They even checked in caves and tunnels. There is no ATM. And Cett figures that, there's no reason to hold Elend for ransom, and he says that he can leave. That's the end of the chapter.
Funny to me when Cett says he does want to ask about the ATM, but the main reason he wanted to take this meeting was it'd be interesting, Because he didn't really offer much of anything. He told Elend stuff he basically already knew, asked him questions he knew he wasn't going to answer. So I just think it's so funny and interesting that you do this whole meeting, bring hundreds of guards, knowing nothing is going to really happen or come of it. Because Elend had the same reason. He's like, well, maybe I'll get some information out of him, which he did get a little bit of. But it just seems like a lot of resources used for almost nothing.
All right, anything else from this chapter about Cett that you want to go over?
Oh, we got the answer, supposed answer that he doesn't care about Ariane.
If you believe him.
Yeah, that might have been a lie. I will say that it is a lie.
I'm going to guess it's a half-truth. I'm going to think almost everything he says was half-true, half-lie.
All right. Well, let's move on to chapter 36. All right, so Elend was never the hero of ages. At best, I've amplified his virtues, creating a hero where there was none. At worst, I fear that all we believe may have been corrupted.
I knew it.
You knew it? You knew he wasn't the hero of ages?
I knew it. Yeah. Well, this is like the first evidence I thought that, because it was kind of hinted at, or, that he was just made up, like how Kelsier is through time. It became bigger and bigger and is different. So this is the first time we get some evidence or text.
How religions come about is definitely a theme of this book, because it's something Sazed's talked about a bit. It's something Vin's thinking of, how it comes about, what it's for, all that stuff. I find that quite interesting.
So the chapter begins, and Sazed's in a warehouse where all those refugees are at. He's trying to help them out as best as he can, and as he gives advice to a woman who has lost almost all her children, and will probably lose her last one, Sazed thinks about how he doesn't preach religions anymore. Before, it felt like a way of rebelling against the Lord Ruler. But now, there's nothing to rebel against, and he thinks that these people don't need. Sazed looks over at Breeze, who is sitting in a chair pretending to read a book, while in actuality, he's helping the refugees by soothing them. Tindwyl comes in to see Sazed. She notes that he actually does care for the people. Tindwyl says that Sazed looks tired, and he says that he used up all his wakefulness when coming to Luther. And now Tindwyl tells Sazed to show her this discovery he made that he found was so important. Then we cut over to Breeze's point of view, and he's glad with himself as Sazed and Tindwyl. It helps soothe them to get them together like this. Breeze thinks about how people misunderstand soothing. It's not mind control. The emotions they feel are still emotions they had. He just helps tone down other emotions. If Tindwyl had really hated Sazed, then it wouldn't matter what he did to her, once he stops soothing her, because she'll go hate him again.
I've been wanting to see a sequence like this, because I always wonder what it's like for Breeze, because he says he's doing it like all the time, and people talk about that. I've been really curious to see it from his point of view, so I was glad we got this section where he kind of explains out how he thinks of it and what it feels like for him.
Yeah. He's just comparing what soothing is. Like, it's not any different than talking to anybody and having any influence over them. Like a woman wearing a low-cut shirt. Like, how that's the same kind of influence, it would have and stuff. Like,
that and somebody talking sternly were the two.
Yeah.
And they both have a reaction. How is it any different, he thinks? And I certainly think it's different, but it's a really interesting comparison.
To him, it's his natural power and stuff, so...
Mm-hmm. And the fact that you learn that he actually uses his powers, even though he acts so selfish, basically to help everyone around him 24/7,
I know, that was
funny.
such a sweet part.
And he doesn't want people to know that he acts that way.
Yeah.
Especially with helping Sazed there, that was a very interesting, very telling part about the character.
I didn't know he even liked Sazed.
Well, they say it in a second, too. He doesn't have to like him. He walks by and he helps the cleaners become more chatty with each other because it'll help their work pass faster. He just, clearly has a lot of thought and empathy for everyone around him, even though I think he'd prefer not to, and he likes to act like he doesn't.
What does that remind me of? It's like a freaking Mary Poppins, good magic character who was goes around spreading cheer and joy to the land, unbeknownst to everybody. Like, I didn't know that was Breeze. I got it all wrong.
Did you? I felt
Yeah.
like we knew this about him for at least this book and the end of the last one. That he's
Kind
all
of,
act,
but
you know.
yeah, he's all act, but some stuff in this next part will confirm it for me and stuff. So
Yeah.
So next, Elend and Ham, they arrive at the refugee, and Breathe sues Elend to be less tired. And he also sues Ham to be less argumentative, because he doesn't want to have to do.
There was his selfish act, though, which I thought was funny. I think the writer wanted us to have all these thoughts, but not think he's that goody two-shoes, you know?
You know, Elend tells Ham to bring the cloth merchants here tomorrow to see the refugee, and hopefully that will get them to stop raising the clothing price. You know, the food price is going up. He's all right with that because, you know, that's scarce. But clothing is not scarce, and them raising the prices is only them just being greedy, trying to take money from the unfortunate refugee.
I don't think it's going to work. But I think it's an interesting thing to force them to do.
And then Breeze heads back to the palace, and, you know, he goes into the kitchen and meets with Clubs there. And they sit down, they just start having a drink and talking. Clubs asks Breeze why he comes to drink with him, and Breeze tells Clubs that by being a soother, you know, soothing people just becomes something that you do. You know, and so he spends time with Clubs, because since Clubs is a smoker, Breeze literally cannot soothe. Breeze also explains, you know, that he hadn't been seen with women before, because if a woman did fall for him, he doesn't know if she came to love him only because of his suit. So he just wouldn't trust it.
See, Purple Man, that's how you fucking do it. Jesus.
I thought of Purple Man too.
The part where he's like, well, how am I supposed to know? That's not my fault, you know?
You do know. And if you don't know for sure, then don't do it.
Well, it is sad the way Breeze describes it. It's not sad the way Purple Man described it, is what I'm saying.
No, he's whiny.
Or I'm sorry, Kilgrave. Never called Purple Man in that show.
Yes, from Jessica Jones, if you haven't watched that.
This scene just goes back to in the first book. I remember you guys had a whole discussion when Breeze first showed up, and you were like, "Oh yeah, he's definitely used his powers to get women." And
yeah,
I'm just here like I'm not gonna say anything. I know exactly why. Just want to get to this moment when you realize, oh, never mind. That's he actually tries to do the opposite.
Yeah, by this point, I had kind of reconsidered that, especially the way he treats Ariane or Ariane, whatever, however you pronounce it.
Ariana Grande. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's what it is. Ariane, there we go. And how they always mock how bad he is with women. That's when I start to get the sense, no, I don't think it's like that. So it was interesting to have it confirmed, and it's really interesting that he lets his guard down and actually talks with Clubs a bit, you know. He also knows Clubs isn't going to share this side of him because he's not a talkative guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Breeze asks Clubs what happened to them. You know, Breeze had joined Kelsier's job for the challenge. He asked why Clubs had joined, and Clubs said that he joined for the money. Granted, we know that Clubs is lying there, because Clubs had told Kelsier that he joined because he figured they were all going to die, but this way he could spit in the Lord Ruler's face as he died. But still the same point. You know, Breeze is like, why the hell are we here? We joined for selfish reasons, and even after the army died, even after Kelsier died, and even now they're in the siege, they still stayed. You know, Breeze points out that they are thieves and scammers, so why should they care? And Clubs raises a glass and toasted Kelsier for knowing them better than they knew themselves. And then Alrianne comes into the room and she sits down next to Breeze. And he tries to think to himself that she's half his age and he shouldn't be doing this. And he's thinking, just stop, you're a dirty old man.
I like that.
I can't believe he said that.
But then
when he talks about her alluring figure and stuff like that, and he's like, shut up, shut up.
But then he sighs and he puts his arm around her as she says. And then we cut over to Vin, and nearby, Vin tells Orseer that this proves it, and Alrianne is an Allomancer. She's a rioter, and she has been rioting Breeze's emotions to make him more attracted to her. Vin wonders if Alrianne is a Mistborn, but finds it unlikely. And she also says that Clubs isn't the conjurer because she pierced his copper cloud, and when she pierced it, she was able to sense both Alrianne and Clubs' Allomancer.
This part was so funny to me because, like, he wants to write in this relationship where this dirty old man and this hot young girl hook up, but it needs to be morally sound. So it's this big convoluted story where he resists all women because he has his powers and he doesn't want to take advantage of them. So you know for a fact he's not doing that with her. And that she's got this power that's making him have to overcome that strong fight he's doing. So it's not his fault in that way. She's not being taken advantage of. I'm like, this is one of the most overcomplicated excuses to get this old guy and this young girl to hook up I've ever seen. And it's actually quite impressive to me to have come up with all of that so that only the most prudish person would be able to say, oh, that's bad, you know? I think that's quite
like, no,
funny.
it's because this and that, and it's okay.
Yeah, actually, she's got the power, so the power dynamic isn't actually out of balance because, you know, like, I just think it's so funny. It's like when it's like, bro, she's not a kid, she's a 10,000-year-old succubus. I'm not a freak, you know?
So, was it confirmed then that Alrianne does have powers then?
Yeah, she's a rioter.
Yeah, Vin sensed them.
What's rioter?
Opposite
Riots
of
emotions.
Oh,
so
geez.
basically he's writing up her the feelings he has of, like, you know, affection and lust and stuff. He's writing them all up, so he's like much less likely to resist. So they're perfect for each other. And either this is a very sweet little thing where everyone gets to be happy, or this is a really horrifying thing where Breeze is being compromised by her and she's pure evil. It's one of the two for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of worried for that.
You should be worried if it's the good one, because if it's the good one, why are they trying to endear Breeze to you so much? You know, both versions could potentially be very sad and unhappy.
All right, so next, Vin leaves and she follows Damu because she still believes that he is the Kandra. He has left the palace by himself at night once again. So she follows him through the dark, and eventually he heads to a meeting of a couple hundred Ska. And he sits down and he begins preaching about Kelsier. And he tells the people to believe in Kelsier, Vin, and Elend. And
I never thought he was the Kandra, but of all the things I expected him to start talking about, that was not one of them. To just start kindly preaching about all this stuff.
But it tracks so well. He was there.
Yeah, it makes absolute perfect sense in every way. It's just not what I expected to pop out of his mouth.
And he even says that Vin will get rid of the mist and turn the plants green once again. And now Vin is having a hard time believing that Damu is the Kandra now. And she also wonders where the hell he got the idea that Vin is going to turn the plants green and get rid of the mist. So she asks Orsier what he had told the Ska when he was Kelsier, and Orsier answers that he only told them simple things like the time for the rebellion has arrived. He did not teach them anything about the mist from the ash no longer falling or the sun turning yellow. So then later, after Damu leaves, Vin drops down to Damu and tells him that she heard what he had told the Ska. And he tells her that he really does believe in Kelsier. Even though he knows more about elements now, he still feels like he can feel Kelsier strengthening, similar to what he had done in the caves when Damu had that fight. Vin asks Damu about when they first met, and Damu answers that it was after the army was destroyed. And he thinks that was a test, and so is the seed. Vin asks where he had heard about the ash, not falling from the sky, and all that. And he answers that he just heard it, around through the grapevine.
People say it. People are saying it. It must be true. I thought
it.
that was so... I was like, man, Damu, you're in deep on this stuff. I had no idea,
Yeah.
Vin tells Damu that she's still going to tell Elend about Damu's teachings, but she'll keep it away from the other crew members. That makes him kind of uncomfortable. So after Damu leaves, she tells Orsier that she is now convinced that he is not the Kandra. And that's the end of the chapter.
Well, this part really endeared Damu to me. I've actually never really had any strong feelings about the guy.
Yeah.
But you can't go quietly preach about hope without me kind of like a little bit. Like all shyly and secretly too.
Yeah. He wasn't saying it like a sycophant. He was just kind of giving them hope, all the people,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it wasn't like a cult leader or something.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to be
like
a cult
Jim
leader.
Jones. Oh, God.
Yeah. But he was just kind of like, don't lose hope, everyone. You gotta wait,
Remember, I really like the way they're turning the survivor thing into the religion of surviving. We must survive as the survivor did, and then the good will come,
Yeah, that was the part I liked. That was really nice.
And when they think about things like how, this world is garbage, so you've got to talk about some better world that we could be working towards, which is the return of the old nature in the sky and stuff. I thought that was an interesting commentary because, I mean, they're talking about our religions here in real life and why they are the way they are and why they're able to work and help people. So, again, it's really interesting when people who have a lot of experience with religion talk about fictional religions because they've had a lot of thoughts about it in their life. If they're kind of a smarter person who's also religious, you can't help but question things and wonder things. So it's always really interesting to get that perspective from a writer like that.
Really unique.
Mm-hmm. Compared to, writers who've totally abandoned their faith or who never had it, It's an interesting perspective always. Because it seems like a lot of writers aren't that into that stuff nowadays, especially.
Perspective.
And one thing I really like about, this is how Kelsier died in the last book. Yet throughout this book, he still is just like a huge shadow over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have
Well, that was
like
the
all
plan.
all this religion stuff going on. You have throughout the book Elend comparing himself to Kelsier, Doxson thinking about how Kelsier would feel about them putting Elend on the throne. Just even though he's gone, he still is just playing a big role throughout the entire story.
So he's really not coming back.
You never know, Sheta. Magical world.
I can't.
I could see it going both directions at this point, which is really interesting to me.
I think it's over.
Yeah, the logical side of me thinks, well, that's not going to happen. But there's a small little part inside that's like, well,
There are a lot of
there's
mysteries.
there's enough themes and stuff that could justify it, as well as enough that could make it seem absolutely asinine and horrible to do.
Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
I'm just glad it wasn't Dimu.
But it's not Damu, that means it has to be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And narratively, she's ruled out Damu and Doxson because I think he knows that that's the two that the readers would want it to be the most, sadly, So if it's not one of them, Sheta, it has to be one of your beloved characters.
I know.
You still on the ham train?
I don't know. Some of the things that happen later make me question it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anymore.
What would be crazy is if it turns out that the Khandra actually can mimic your thoughts exactly, and it has been Elend this whole time. And so when we're in his head, it's just mimicking his thoughts. Now, it's not that, but I'm ready for something crazy like that, at this point,
Why would the Khandra get a freaking POV? That's just mean.
Because
like, why
yeah,
would
it
you
would
do
be a
that
mean.
to me?
It would be mean to do to the audience.
Like,
yeah,
half the book is Elend, so like, I'd be like, why am I listening to this fake person?
yeah. Oh, that would be fucked up.
All right. So we'll go on to chapter 37. And so, I come to the focus of my argument. I apologize. Even forcing my words into steel, sitting and scratching in this frozen cave, I am prone to ramble.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
Yep. I was like, I don't even ramble when I'm writing in my notebook or journal, because I don't want to write it.
I get a vibe that he's almost half crazed in here too.
Let's see. It's just so funny because I imagine him writing it Flintstone style, with a freaking chisel.
Yeah, he ain't using a pen.
Be hemming and hawing, I don't know, and then writing everything he thinks.
He's probably crazily starving to death in here or something too. I doubt whatever situation he's in, I doubt he's at his best.
All right, so we begin, and Cett and Tindwyl have stayed up all night studying.
Woo! Sorry, I had to.
Tindwyl looks into an account from an old king named Wednigon, and he mentions that they lost the Koloss, but they were really defeated because of food. He blamed the deepness, though, because its touch had depleted the food. Tindwyl believes that Vin is right and that the deepness is the mist. Tindwyl mentions that the only proof of the mist killing people are Cett's hesitant theories, and he says, yeah, that's true. And now Tindwyl gets upset with Cett because he never defends himself. He had rebelled against the Synod, but he never gave counter-arguments to get others to follow him. Now, Tindwyl tells Cett that she's going to leave today. She has given Elend advice on how to be king, so she will go and she will give similar advice to Straff. Cett's like,
God, how much I would pay to read that chapter. You have no idea.
Once again, she gets upset with Cett for refusing to argue. She tells him that sometimes people only seem determined on one course because they have not been given an alternate. And she brings up that his rubbing may merit further research.
Stop, Sheta.
Sorry.
Get out. You're fired from the
What?
podcast,
I didn't
Sheta.
say anything.
This is a nice, wholesome, kind little moment here with a lot of like philosophical thoughts and ideas.
Sorry, I am switching between this book and Akatar, so
Hmm.
it's kind of funny. I read a similar chapter last night. Go on, Joe.
So Sazed thinks about his thoughts for Tindwyl, but tells himself that some things are not meant to be. And he tells Tindwyl that he cannot be what she wants. He is not a man. And Tindwyl responds by saying she's had enough men in her life. During her time
Good.
during time with his mother, she got frustrated how the keepers were so focused on maintaining their secrecy, while there was one man who's trying to change things. He kept on fighting while condemned, and then he went on to free them all. He tells Sazed to give her an excuse to stay. And so Sazed asks Tindwyl, stay. And she says, well, you've persuaded me.
I like that.
Oh my gosh, this part
Also,
was so cute.
The little part of, sometimes people only follow a path because nobody's persuaded them on another. I thought was interesting because she does just want him to say stay, but she's also obviously talking about how he didn't try to persuade their order to go differently. That's an interesting angle for her to be mad at him about compared to what it sounded like from how she was talking before.
She is so smart. Yep. Oh, I love it. I couldn't help thinking of the song of Stay when this scene was playing. Like, oh, this song will be so good playing in the background.
What song?
Won't you stay with me?
Oh God, no! Get off the podcast, Sheta. Oh my God, what the hell was that? Oh, I never wanted to have those two things mixed together.
I know.
Oh my God.
I couldn't help it. I was seeing this like a CW show or something. And
Yeah, that's the. Oh God, no, thank you.
I'm sorry. You can cut that out, Joe.
Oh, you better not. I want everyone to know.
So next, we cut over to Elend and Ham, and they're walking on the city wall. And Ham mentions that Elend looks more like a king now with the look on his face. The soldiers also tend to stand straighter when they know that Elend is coming. And Elend says that he wants to be king. He doesn't want another man to take this position, because he knows that he can lead the city better than the other. And Ham and Elend, they see a skirmish taking place between Cett and Straff's army, and Elend thinks that maybe he can figure out a way to take advantage of this if he had more time. And this is also when they can finally see the third army of the Koloss arriving. Elend thinks about his strength as a king. He was a scholar. He is a nobleman that loved the Ska. He would not abandon them. And an idea comes to Elend, and he tells Ham about his idea. And that's where we end the chapter.
Yeah, I was glad to have Elend finally, what he called arrogance and Ham called, I think, self-assuredness, but that actual desire to be king and that I will do it better than anyone else. Because without that, I mean, of course, you're never going to make the moves needed to get things done because you would think, well, is that what everyone wants? Is that what's best?
Yeah, I think Tindwyl talked about that kind of stuff when she first showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you have to know that whatever choice you make is the best choice for the people.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting, this weird mixture of like a completely idealistic pro-democracy guy Elend is, as well as a I do know what's best, you are all stupid kind of guy he is, like inching towards that monarchy totalitarian kind of feel. I think that's what makes him a very interesting character in this book, is he's like got almost contradicting beliefs that makes him very unique compared to a lot of the other people who want to lead, who just want it for the power or the position or because they're insane. One of the two. Savior complexes, I mean.
All right. Anything else from this chapter do you want to go over?
Oh, and I liked Ham saying that he would never want to lead. I thought that was interesting too.
Oh yeah, this was the part where I was thinking maybe he's not the Khandra. Maybe brings back how he didn't want
are really good.
to be a leader.
I don't think yeah.
That's a really basic conversation though that Ham had. I feel like I don't know anymore.
All right. Well, now we'll go on to chapter 38, our last chapter for you. This is the problem. Though I believed in Elendi at first, I later became suspicious. It seemed that he fit the signs, true. But, well, how can I explain this? Could it be that he fit them too well?
That is scary to think about.
Alright, so we begin. And it is the day of the vote for king. and Vin is nervous for Elend. She and Elend had arrived early at the assembly so that Elend can greet every assembly member as they enter. And Vin thinks about how Cett has likely already locked this entire thing up. A candidate needs 2/3 votes, or 16, to win. Otherwise, it would be deadlocked. And if it's deadlocked, then Elend will keep the crown because the assembly had just delayed this for so long, and this is literally the last day they can do it. And she thinks about how Cett will get the merchants and the merchants to vote for him. So that's 8. And he's going to have the Ska vote for him because they're too afraid of the armies outside. And Vin senses that Elend has a plan. And he tells her that, he does have a plan. It's something that he and Han came up with. And he hasn't had time to tell her about it yet. And it involves her. And he was going to ask her for permission. And then before he's able to say anything else, Penrod interrupts to start the meeting. So Vin goes and sits down, and Penrod gives his speech about why they should vote. And Vin worries about what Elend didn't tell her. He'd always told her his plans before. After Penrod's done, Cett just like, I'm not giving a speech. You know what my offers are and my threats. And so then Elend goes up to give his speech. And Vin sees like how the Scar are looking. She sees some of the Church of Survivor people. And she realizes what Elend has done. He has joined the Church of the Survivor to get him the votes of the Ska. And she tries to tell herself that this doesn't change anything. But she thinks back to Zane telling her that she was Elend's knife.
I think it sounds really interesting or awkward to join a church and be dating their Jesus at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that alone would cause some kind of rift between them.
That's pretty taboo. Like, you go to church and they keep talking about, like, Mary or something, and you go home and that's your girlfriend. Like,
yeah. Your girlfriend who doesn't go to the church, too,
yeah. It was awkward.
Until he starts trying to push her to make appearances and it drives more of a rift between them. So many things that can go wrong with this.
I don't like that at all. I think that's too
I think
weird.
It's a good plan. It's smart, I think, but it's, I think it causes trouble.
Not for the relationship.
Right. And then some men, they attack the assembly, and Vin pushes Elend out of the way. And in there's a couple of groups of thugs, and along with each of them, there's some coin shots. And they attack Elend and Cett. And during the fight, Vin breaks the leg of a thug. So she's fighting a group that has 3 thugs and coin shot with each. So she breaks the leg of a thug. Elend manages to buy some time and hold off some thugs using his duel. And, the coin shots throughout it, they keep shooting coins at Elend, and she keeps having to, like, push them away. And, also, I'm not going through everything in the fight, just some of the major. It gets very repetitive just to say, yep, she punched that guy, yeah. So during the fight, then, she does take a shot in the side from a thug by burning duralumin and puke. Then after it doesn't do much, then she stabs him in the neck, and she kills the coin shot. Vin pulls out a vial to drink, but then he gets pushed away by a coin shot. A thug comes up to attack her, and then he gets tripped by and attacked by Orseer. And then Orseer opens up his skin and gives her his hidden pouch, which then she drinks the vial from it. Then Vin pokes out the eye of a thug.
I love that part. She knew that hitting him wouldn't do enough. So she dug his eye fixed into her eye socket, and his eye blew out. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Vin. You don't just do that on a whim. You've been trained and thought about how to do that,
And then she stabs
That's an
him in the
instinct.
chest.
Yeah.
And then she kills the last 2 coin shots. However, Vin is then taken down by the thug with the broken leg that she had forgotten about. And he just begins to strangle her. And Vin, she tries to move his hands away, and she even tries to flare pewter, but it's not enough. And she also thinks that she recognizes the man for her. And she can't really get anything else, so she goes up with one last plan. And she burns duralumin with pewter. And she pushes his hand away with that strength, and then she headbutts him, exploding his head.
Now, there was my favorite part. I had to read that twice because I was like, I didn't read that correctly, did I? And then his head blew up. It's like, wow, sweet.
That's what duralumin and pewter will do for you.
Yeah,
And then Vin begins to pass out, and while she's passing out, she can see the horror on Elend's face. She's just thinking, no.
It's not every day you see somebody headbutt a guy so hard his head explodes, and it's described as a headless corpse after that.
Yeah, no. You also don't see your girlfriend, like a tiny little thing, do that. You can't unsee that kind of thing. You'll always, like, think of it when you look at her. It's pretty messed up.
The headband and the corpse thing, I think that was a Mortal Kombat fatality in one.
Oh, probably.
I knew it.
It might be a Kano one from one of the newer games. I could be wrong. It also could be the Terminator.
Is
See,
it?
this is the thing I
Has
noticed
anyone
with Brandon
asked-
San. Oh, you go, Sheta.
I just wanted to ask if anyone's ever found out if Brandon Sanderson is a gamer.
Yeah, he plays video games. In fact, I remember I heard on another podcast from a couple years ago that he had done like a top 10 favorite video games.
Oh.
Oh, I'll have to
Or
see that.
top 10
That
favorite
sounds-
top 10 favorite video games, but he kept it at only one video game from a series.
Oh, God, that's hard. Yeah. This is the thing with writers like this. You have this nice, wholesome thing about faith and hope and religion a few chapters ago. And then you have a guy get headbutted so hard his head explodes and covers Elend's pure white suit in blood and guts.
Not guts. It was his head. It'd be blood and brains.
No, they said guts or gore a little later.
Okay.
Some kind of gunk.
But anyway, so after the battle is finished, Elend and Ham, they're talking. And Elend talks about how he had only seen Vin fight once before in the Lord Ruler's. And when he had seen her fight, she only threw some people into walls. He had never seen anything like this. And she had done this to protect him, but he still found it Ham says that Straff must have sent the assassins, since they attacked both Elend and Cett, but not the assembly. Elend asked Ham if he had ever seen anything like the exploding head, or earlier when Vin was like able to push entire horses. But Ham just shakes his head, because just as a reminder, Vin has not told anybody about Duralumin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So none of them know how the hell she's doing all this.
Which is smart, for all the shit I give him for talking too loosely, in front of the spy. I'm really glad she hasn't talked about this with anybody. Because this is a huge ace in the hole.
Yeah, this is the one edge that she has.
Especially if she gets her hands on Atrium. Now that combo I want to see.
I wonder what would happen. That's crazy. She might just go to another dimension if that happens.
That's how you become the Lord Ruler.
And then a messenger arrives, and the messenger tells them that the voting will proceed at Penrod's mansion. And because if they don't choose a leader today, then they will run out of time, and Elend will keep the crown. So Elend goes there, and at the vote, Cett's not there because he went back to keep Hastings to recover from the. So the vote begins. Penrod votes for himself. Elend votes for himself. A Lord Habron votes for Cett. And a lot of I think the noble votes get split. And then it gets to Phylon. And he votes for Penrod, which surprises Elend. And then the other merchants also vote for Penrod. And the Ska wind up splitting their votes between Penrod and Elend. So at the end...
What kind of dumbass Ska would vote for Penrod? At least Cett promised they'd all get noble titles if they voted for him. If you vote for Penrod and he just lets Straff in, they're all going to be killed, right?
Yeah,
There's no promise of it unless there's been some behind-the-scenes talks.
I know.
So at the end of the votes, it's 15 votes for Penrod, 7 votes for Elend, and 2 votes for Cett. So now Elend's going to keep the crown. But before it's able to close, Lord Habron asks if he is allowed to change his vote since he voted for Cett, and Cett's clearly not going to win. Penrod has no idea if he can. And Elend looks at Norden, who is the only other person there that has read the law and knows the answer. And Norden nods to Elend to imply that he won't say anything. But Elend decides to speak up and says that yes, you are allowed to change. So Habron decides to change his vote for Penrod, and same thing with the other person that had voted for Cett. So now it ends with 17 votes for Penrod and 7 for Elend. Penrod is now the king. So Elend takes it off the crown and sets it on the mantle and leaves without looking at the assembly member. And
I didn't expect Penrod to win. I didn't expect Penrod to win, but I like the guy, so I'm curious to see that. I think it's interesting that the running theme of this book has been exactly what Cett was saying. Somebody who's honest doesn't get to have that kind of power,
Good guys finish last this book.
I don't know about that because we still got a ways left. I'm really curious to see how this is going to wrap up and what, like I've said, the moral's going to be. I really don't know at this point, which is always really interesting.
Especially because right there, Elend, he could have kept his crown if he would have just lied and done the thing that was not morally
not just
correct.
lied. Not just lied. He could have just said nothing, too. That would have been just as good, because then they would have been like, well, we don't know. And that's the thing that shows that he's standing by his morals, like, to an absurdly strong degree. Mm-hmm.
Like if he won that way, he would know that he kind of cheated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always commend somebody who stands by their morals to that point, even if I find it frustrating personally, Because you could think it's their fault for not reading it, very easily. After all the work they put in to try to look for any loopholes and stuff, you'd expect that all the assembly should have read that kind of thing. It's stupid not to have. So you could say there's a moral argument to hold your tongue. It's just interesting to me that he doesn't agree with that, so he doesn't. He doesn't want to rule if it's not actually the will of the people. That's what I'm saying. Like, he actually believes in that more than in anything else. And that's either going to be the death of the city or he's going to be vindicated in some way in the end.
I think it's so funny that when he told the guy, he's like, "Yeah, you can change your vote." Like, he's like, "Okay, well, I vote for Penrod." Like, he doesn't even think like
Well,
Ellen did a honorable thing or anything by saying that he could.
clearly they didn't want Elend as king.
Yeah, it's so sad when people like do things that are not good for them. You know what I mean? Like all knowingly, but like they want to go back to how it was. Like they don't like all this stuff that is better, but too different. I don't know.
Well, people like strong rulers, They do not like democracy. Like, in our human natural state, democracy is a strange concept nobody likes.
Yeah,
Like, people do tend to prefer to have just one strong ruler, then they don't have to think about anything. They
I
don't
mean,
have to be
even
scared.
still, we can't get rid of having a president.
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
we still want that for our
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the idea that somebody else is in charge of that, thank God, is an interesting feeling for people.
Yeah, we need to know who's in charge, or we
That's
need to
why a
know
lot
that
of strong,
someone is.
yeah, that's why a lot of strong like dictators usually rise up out of revolutions and stuff. Now, normally it would have been somebody like that, like a Strav, except for Ellen's great speech that made everyone trust him more. And I think the religious aspect helped a bit too, so that they didn't just pick somebody like that because they felt like it was a divine thing, so they're not going to like just settle for whatever, at least right away.
I thought that it was just because he was on site, like he was
Well,
there
that too.
with Vin.
Yeah, but
All
he
of it. But
gave
like they would have just chopped his head off if he didn't give that speech.
yeah, if he did not give a speech, those Ska would have killed all the nobles in Luthadel,
Mm-hmm.
and then likely start
Probably.
turning on each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what his great speech did. They quelled them.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
what it?
Yes.
It made
Okay.
everyone think to, look for a better way instead of just giving into the blood fury of a revolution.
I see. Okay, I totally forgot.
And it also made him something where then the Ska would look up to him, and then the nobles, he was a noble himself, so it was the way to also bridge the gap between the people,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that both sides would be able to respect.
I see.
Yeah, so it's interesting that he didn't steal this position. It was gained, honorably and truthfully, and he's been doing the best he can and stuff, and he's not willing to just keep it because he wants it, after his whole speech. That he's so serious about this democracy thing. It's just really interesting about the character. You don't usually see that unless the character's winning all the time. You don't usually see it when they're losing all the time.
All right, anything else from this chapter?
No.
All right, then we'll move over to the, theories and predictions area. I'll ask you some questions. So now that Penrod has been chosen as king, what is Cett going to do about this?
Well, Penrod said that his plan was he wanted to turn over to Straff, right, in a previous chapter. Am I correct? That was after Cett had gotten here, though, right? Or was that before Cett got here?
Yeah, that was before. So when Straff had first shown up, Penrod had said, "Yeah, we'll let you parlay with Straff, but we just figure we're going to wind up turning the city over to him over eventually. We just want to be able to get a strong enough position so that way we can get some stuff out of it." Mm-hmm. And then after Cett came, then he's just like, and he told Elend, like, or maybe Elend thought about it, that if Elend hadn't had that whole like proposal where he had to meet with Straff before they could choose anything, then they probably would have turned the city over to Cett weekly.
Yeah. Well, I'd assume Cett's going to reach out to Penrod for that very reason. I don't know if Penrod would be willing to give up the crown, though, if he's a man of honor, like they were saying. Or not honor. I don't remember what word they used. I mean, I would assume Cett's... Their position hasn't changed in any way, so I assume that's just going to stay in the city and have another power play, I'd assume. Or he'll be so pissed off at Straff that he'll want revenge, maybe. I really can't guess, because we don't know Cett that well, and he's kind of a wild card, or he likes to be seen as one, I think.
It would suck if him and Penrod made a deal so that whoever was gonna vote, because they probably figured that it was gonna end with a deadlock and stuff. So they probably pooled their votes to Penrod so that they could make the deal anyway. Like,
Unless Phylan has had this long-term plan set up with somebody like Penrod, and Cett was just a tool amidst all of it, you know? I really am curious about
to what
Phylan's
end,
place
though?
in all this. Oh, I don't know.
Like, if Penrod just wanted a good deal, they wanted to like come out on top and stuff still. So if if he's like, okay, everyone vote for me, then we can all get our stuff when we give it over to Cett. Because we don't really want to rule and stuff, you know. So
So
if
that they
I'm
can make a
king,
bargaining position with Straff from a stronger position than they could with
or
Cett, who has him by the balls. Is that what you're saying?
no, the opposite.
Oh.
I don't think they want Straff. I think they'd rather deal with Cett.
What? Who would rather deal with Cett? Straff is a known entity. If I was one of the nobles and I didn't care about the Ska, I would prefer Straff come in.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just biased because I don't like Straff. Like I just, but yeah, if he would be a better choice for them because he was one of them. He actually lived here
Yeah,
and
I mean,
stuff.
he doesn't
So
see himself as one of them, but he basically ruled a lot of the nobles already before. So, like I said, you know how he's going to go about it, basically, you know?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
Cett is an unknown entity with a bad reputation, you know?
yeah, for
But I
sure.
don't know. I don't know where this is going to go. I was surprised by Phylan's vote.
All right,
I
next I'll
do
ask you.
think that Cett is in the city for a reason, though. I think something horrible is going to happen out there, and we're going to lose everyone, but Cett's going to survive with his 200 men because he happens to be in here. That's my theory on that. Either the
3,000.
Colas will attack. What's that? Oh, he's 2,000 men in the city? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Either the
1,000.
Colas. Well, it doesn't really matter. Either the Colas are going to do something crazy out there, or the Mists are going to sweep over and fuck everyone up worse. I feel like Cett is in the city for a reason. I'll be very surprised if next chapter he just retreated out of it.
I knew it was a mistake to let him in,
They didn't
or
really have a choice.
to let him stay. I mean, they should have just killed him.
Like I said, they don't really have a choice. He kind of has him by the balls.
He's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, because if you kill him, now his army, because his whole thing was like kind of a mutually assured destruction. They kill
Mm-hmm.
him, his army will attack, and yes, his army will then be killed by Straff. But he figured, I'm dead. All the people in the city will probably dead. Who the f cares?
Yeah, if I'm dead, who cares? That's always my favorite bad guy mentality.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Zane has asked Vin to come with them. They can leave and leave everything behind. Will Vin choose to leave with Zane at some point?
Only if Ellen is dead.
I don't think it'll be because Ellen's dead. I think her and Zane will need to go out to stop the Mists. Take that more seriously once whatever I'm theorizing sweeps through on the other armies to go to the well and deal with it, you know? How much book is? Are we halfway? Are we 3/4? I don't really know because I've
We're
been having
over
to.
halfway.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot left. So that's my theory. Something happens out there that technically solves the army problem, but in a way that doesn't solve anything for anyone. And then Vin will feel the call to go to the well, and I think her and Zane will go. And I don't think she'll even tell Elend.
Oh my gosh. Secret rendezvous.
Yeah. I think things are going to get really fucking bad really quickly, really soon. You know, whatever
Yeah,
the
I can
Kolas
see
are
that.
here, that's going to signal some change in the story that's going to be fucked up.
Well, they are. They can see them now.
No, that's what I'm saying. Now that they are here, it's going to signal some change. It's going to be fucked up. And now everything that bad that happens is going to be right at the new king's feet instead of Elend's, I think, too.
Yeah, no. When he took the crown off, I'm like, I think it might have been a good thing for you to take that off and just go
We'll see.
hide
I'm
somewhere.
curious. Very curious.
Next, I will ask, because it keeps coming up, where is the Lord Ruler's cache of 8? It was such a big thing in the last book because that's why they were doing the job, was to steal that. And now in this book, everyone's coming to the city for that. So where the hell did it go?
Well, did we ever see it? Like maybe it just never existed. Like he didn't seem that smart, so I feel like he...
But the
But he
thing is
also
that
didn't seem that worried about the mines being destroyed. Otherwise, I would agree with you.
well,
But
the
he
thing is
wasn't
that
that worried about it.
Straff, don't forget, Straff and the Ventures, they were the ones that were mining. So Straff knows how much got mined, and he also knows how much was then given to the nobles. So he knows that there is still a large portion that was given to the
Well,
Lord
for all we
Ruler.
know, the Lord Ruler's been eating it all. We don't know how he uses it.
Yeah, he might have had a really bad problem with it. Just been using it every day to stay young. Or, yeah, burning it up to keep the deepness at bay,
Yeah, I was thinking something like that too. Like it's being used, it's not being stored,
So, yeah.
Because maybe to defeat the deepness, there was something we were supposed to do, but they didn't, so now he's forced to do this. But then again, he wasn't that worried when the mine got shut down, where he would be if he was using it to burn up for the deepness, right?
Honestly, the Lord Ruler seemed like he was done when he was killed. He was kind of like bored of everything, just kind of like...
No way. He seems so scared when he died. Like, you don't know what you've done, what you've
Yeah,
unleashed.
well, at that point, but when he was... I didn't mean like done, like he wanted to die, but like he'd been like feeding the deepness for so long, and like he's just kind of
Yes,
like...
but I still think he would be less lethargic if that was like his one way to stave it off. So that's why I can't get behind that theory. But I am starting to believe it's not anywhere, too, at the same time. Because the last thing the book wants is a shitload of ATM everywhere to make things even more difficult to write in the fight sequences.
Everyone has ATM.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ATM only matters for Mistborn. This book right now
Yeah.
only has two.
I know. Like, there's not more out there ready to come in.
Wait, if it only works for Mistborn, why does everyone want it?
Because there's a lot of Mistborn in the nobility.
Oh.
It's
Yeah,
just so
'cause-
valuable. Basically, if you go into fight without it against a Mistborn who has it, you've lost your Mistborn.
I think it's also just something. Part of it too is also just something from the past, because it's like, well, this was what we always valued as the most. It's the best metal, even though I don't have any Mistborn left. This is the rich thing.
No, it's like gold.
Yeah, but anytime you get a hold of a Mistborn, it's so valuable.
Oh yeah.
And Straff has at least one. So.
And then one more question. So we finished part 3. So my question is, where the hell is Marsh?
He went off with all the Inquisitors. He's either brainwashed into being one of them, or he's going to come back like, well, guys, the real threat is coming. All of this is nothing. One of those two things for sure. Or all the Inquisitors are off trying to do something like some emergency order for if the Lord Ruler ever dies. Because they seem to
Maybe
have
they
their
do.
own thing going a little bit too.
Yeah, maybe they're executing Order 66.
Well, not that, but something like it.
Like a failsafe, Maybe they know something about the deepness and they gotta go take it.
Yeah, I think they know something. Or
But
I think they might be I don't know. It seems like because Marsh acting really weird. They all were, right? I don't know.
well, Marsh
Hard
is
to
just
guess.
weird now that he's a
Yeah,
Inquisitor.
that's true too.
I don't think he's... But he is gonna
No.
come back and be like, oh, Ham's a Khandra. Like, because they have the power to see, or they have the power to fight Khandra. So he's gonna come back and reveal the Khandra.
That would be funny. Why are you guys hanging out with a Khandra?
Yeah, do you guys know that? Or is
Do
that
you guys
cool?
know Elend's a
That-
Khandra? What the fuck?
Man, how upset would Vin be if she finds out she's been fucking a...
We
She
don't know
hasn't
that.
been. They haven't done that yet.
Oh, can Chandra copy the
Anything.
reproduction organs and also make sperm?
That sounds like a good question to go ask Reddit.
No, it sounds like a...
Let's ask Reddit right now.
No, it sounds like a question you'd ask Brandon Sam. Can Chandra copy... If a Chandra sleeps with another person, can they get that person pregnant?
A writer like this, I feel he has the answer too. He probably knows,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the thing with Brandon Sanderson.
Mhm.
Like he likes to engage with fans, so there's things called words of Brandon, is what the fans call it, where he'll ask him like, "Hey, what if somebody from this world goes to this world and does this thing with the magic?" And he'll usually come up with some answer for it. Sometimes, if it's something where you can tell it's something he has planned, he'll just say "Raffo" and
What's that mean?
read and find out.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
But it's also a lot of stuff too where he has said some stuff that later contradicted it. So it's more what he says is canon until it gets it's canon until it gets put in a book, because then that's the final
Yeah.
canon. But that sort of thing, yeah, you can ask people like, yeah, because before when I brought up the snorting the metal, that had been asked for him, and he answered, "Oh yeah, you can snort it and it would work for Allomancer. Just needs
I
to get into
imagine
your
Zane
body."
snorts it like a crazy coke boy.
Any other theories or predictions you two have that you want to share?
You know, there was one part when Ellen said, "I thought I told you," that I'm like, oh my god, the condor doesn't need to eat the whole body, and Vin's been compromised. There's 2 Vins out there, and I shut that
Oh
thought down
yeah,
very quickly.
I thought that for a second too.
We'll see. And this is why Vin's like, why doesn't he tell me things anymore? Turns out they've been having this long conversation this whole time. I do not
Elend
stand by
sleeping
that
with the
theory.
Condra.
Yep. I don't stand by this, but that was the thought that went through. That's how paranoid I've become.
I really want to find out now. I just want to know now. I can't wait. So if we don't find out in these chapters, I'm just gonna look it up. Just kidding.
Find out who the Condra is.
Yeah, I can't take it anymore.
I will tell you, you will find out at some point.
I would
Don't say
assume
anymore.
so.
Oh,
That would be so funny. It was just
I'm
some random like maid, so we never learned who it was.
Oh,
At this
better
point, I'm
not
starting to think it
frickin'-
is just some random maid who's been listening at the door at the right time.
I would be so annoyed at that. No, it can't be that.
But a little
It has to
relieved
be-
too.
No, it has to be someone in the inner circle. Otherwise, all my stress has been for nothing.
Jeez, that's selfish.
Yep. Someone has to die, or I will not be satisfied.
That sounds bloodthirsty.
It is. I've been so stressed about it.
You sound like those people that complained about like One Piece. There's not enough deaths.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying he set it up this way to stress me out, and it has. If he pulls out the rug,
Trick.
I'm gonna be really
There
upset.
there was no Condra. There's just a cannibal serial killer on the loose.
Yeah, it's fine. Friendship rules at the end of the day. I'd be like, get out of here.
Dachshund murders and eats people. That's just what he does. There's no Condra at all. Would that make you okay, Sheta?
No. That's
Yes, there is my current theory, by the way.
The bones they found was not a Condra, but Dachshund
Nope.
ate somebody and left the bones.
He ate them clean down to the bone and then hid the skeleton.
Stupid. And he left
It's a
an entire
compulsion.
skeleton. Like
It's a compulsion.
He put it back into the shape of my body.
Well, he didn't do it in one sitting.
All right. After leaving that plausible theory, we will go to the characters and quotes of the week.
My character of the week is Breeze. I liked him a lot in these chapters, which I feel like I was supposed to. I like getting to see his internal world. I liked getting to see his type of girl, which is very funny. And I liked his conversation with Clubs quite a bit.
That was good. Also, wait a minute. Is it the first time we've gotten a POV like that from someone?
I believe this was the first Breeze. I could be wrong, but I think this.
I think it was.
Have we had that with other characters?
What do you mean? We had one from Phylon.
Oh yeah, I just meant from the gang, from the guys.
Well, I think Brandon probably doesn't want to use POVs from them because a POV from them will automatically rule them out of being the secret Condra.
Oh,
that's why I've been watching for him.
I see.
But since Breeze came into the city after the Condra would have taken over the body, he was ruled out already.
So we know Phylon isn't the Condra. I'm really relieved about that.
Good, he's a beloved character.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, well my favorite character will be... I can't pick. I think it will be Sazed. I was gonna pick Sazed and Tyndall, but I just think that I just have never looked at him as a character like that until Tyndall saw him the way she did.
A character like what?
Like a love interest. Like a badass, you know?
No, you can still have feelings when you have no genitalia.
Yeah. I thought it was so... Wait, that's my quote, so I'll save that for later too, but I really like Sazed. I liked seeing him in a different light.
Agreed. I thought that was really interesting too. It's interesting to see his internal wants and desires that he doesn't give voice to, you know?
I know! I can't believe it. he respects her so much, but he wouldn't even think like that.
When he says her beautiful blue eyes, I thought that
Oh,
was really interesting.
And Sheta, you're clearly showing that you did not watch the show.
Game of Thrones.
why?
There was a romance with an Unsullied and a normal person. And the
What?
whole thing was, well, it worked in the show. Trust me, it was pretty well
I
done.
remember in the books that there would be those Unsullied who would go get a prostitute just to hold them, and it was really sad to think about.
Yeah, because the romance was pretty well done and stuff. And so, because it was showing that, that someone can still be in a romance and stuff, even though they don't have a genitalia.
Well, yeah.
And then there
You
was
are
the,
missing a pretty big aspect of it.
well, then you do get to was supposed to be like a love scene, but when he takes off his pants, I remember some people being annoyed that they did not show what it looked like.
That would be, I would be proud to wear those prosthetics. That would be a pretty cool scene. Yeah, that is kind of a cop-out. I would want to see.
I mean, why go all the way to writing the love scene and not do that?
Or like an undressing scene specifically.
Everyone's been thinking about that and curious. So, and
Because
then
I
you go all
was
the
very
way.
interested when I learned that it was the pork and beans that were gone. Like I did not expect that. Jesus.
Especially since Game of Thrones, they would show all the nudity throughout the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get back. So I'll go back to my character of the week will be Vin. She blew up a guy's head.
Blew up a guy's head 10 out of 10. I can't disagree with that.
With her forehead.
Mm-hmm.
That head butted him.
Plus, to be honest, she was also straight with Zane. She did tell Zane, what you think, it's not there.
Yeah, I liked when she realized that that's what he's kind of feeling and stuff, and is recognizing it in herself too. It's really interesting.
Like, I've got a boyfriend.
Zane, I'm just not that into.
Yeah. I forgot a
you,
major
it's
thing.
Straff.
We didn't talk about a major thing, which was Vin finding out that Elend has a brother, and it's Zane. And she didn't tell him, right?
No.
No, she has not told Elend.
Wow. Keeping secrets. Not good.
I think she wants to keep Zane for her as her secret thing.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really
starts.
tell anyone about the stuff he does, She kind of just keeps it all to herself as her private little thing. Her Mistborn thing.
Elend doesn't even know that Zane's a Mistborn. He just knows that Zane as Straff's messenger. Vin, I will say, while she did tell Zane, I'm that thing between us that you think's there, that's not really there. She is also going out secretly wanting to meet with him. There.
I think that the main reason she told that was to convince herself,
I mean, she was in a room with Elend and left that to go hang out with Zane.
Yeah, because Elend's been treating her like crap lately.
He has not been doing that.
Yeah. He hasn't been paying attention to her. He's been keeping things from her too. She risks her life to protect him, and she loves him so much, and he's just been treating her like garbage.
He has not been.
I think garbage is a bit strong of a word.
Garbage.
There's all these interesting moments that are sad, like Vin's like, does he even like me now that he doesn't need me? Can we even be together? And then just Ellen smiled at her, and I'm like, it's so sad that you can understand that these simple little things are what would tell you, not these like, do you need me to kill people for you thing,
Plus, it is stuff where, he does get focused on other stuff a little bit too much. Like when she's trying to find out, like, I need to try to keep the kingdom. She's trying to tell him about deepness, and he is like, I don't really have time for this right now. It's not because he doesn't like her, because
that's what I mean. The truth is so much beyond this kingdom thing is irrelevant to what's really happening, which is how these stories go a lot of the times.
But Joe, it's
just getting a little bit of tunnel vision.
Yeah, it's the little things that matter. He's not paying attention to her, and just kind of letting her, do her own thing and stuff like that. But
bastard.
The main thing, though, is this last thing he pulled with joining the church and stuff that she's always been against and hasn't liked, without telling her.
She actually took that a lot better than I expected.
I will say that
they got attacked right away.
Yeah.
I will say that also does kind of, does bother me a little bit, where he's not really a believer in this religion. He's joining this religion and using it for political gain.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he even pointed out he never promised faith, you know? It's not expected from him, so he's not lying to them, which I think is interesting.
I don't
And
like
it
that
didn't matter.
I don't like that. I don't like him using his connection to Vin to make him seem like a chosen one or something.
That's not what he did. They specifically said that they thought that having somebody associated with the church on the throne would be better than Straff
That's
or
how it
one of the
starts,
Cett.
Justin.
All right, let's move on to quotes.
Okay.
Mine is Cett talking to the woman with her baby, or thinking when he's, her baby's dying. He doesn't know how to tell her, and he thinks how Cett wished he could give her more. A dozen different religions passed through his mind. He had spent his entire life trying to encourage people to believe in something other than the Lord Ruler. Yet for some reason at this moment he found it difficult to preach one of them to Grenadier. It had been different before the collapse. Each time he'd spoken of a religion, Cett felt a subtle sense of rebellion. Even if people hadn't accepted the things he taught, and they rarely had, his words had reminded them that there had once been beliefs other than the doctrines of the Steel Ministry. Now there was nothing to rebel against. In the face of the terrible grief he saw in Genadier's eyes, he found it difficult to speak of religions long dead, gods long forgotten. Esoterica would never ease this woman's pain. Just the whole first book, Cett has been so big about returning the religions and all this stuff. It's interesting that in this book, what I think the theme of in what ways religion is useful and good, which is to help people and give them hope and stuff and give them something bigger. And in what ways it's not as powerful as people like to think, like in the face of actual blunt grief and pain, and just stuff that's too horrible that there is no hope from. And it's interesting to see a character like Cett who was so into that stuff, find it so useless to him at this point. It was the same earlier in the story when the stuff he was trying to teach them had almost no purpose or effect to it. It's very sad.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Because he did. He was so excited to pull out all the religions to help people get through stuff. The context is now all changed now that the Lord Ruler is gone. Very well, now my quote seems kind of all right. Well,
Sheta, my quote was almost, and then the dude's head fucking exploded. So don't feel like that.
yeah, but it wasn't.
It was very close to that.
There's nothing. Have you noticed most of the quotes I pick? It's usually last week. It was just Cett being awesome.
Boo. All right. Well, you may guess where my quote was taken from. It is Tyndall and Cezet's cozy study session. Okay. This is when Tyndall finally says, she is thinking about leaving and stuff. And Cezet's like, huh? He's confused, dumbfounded, afraid. And then he says, I cannot be what you wish, Tyndall, he said. I am not a man. She waved her hand indifferently. I have had more than enough of men and childbearing over the years, Cett. I have done my duty to the terrace people. I should like to stay away from them for a time, as a part of me resents them for what was done to me. He opened his mouth to speak, but she held up a hand. I know, Cett. I took that duty upon myself and am glad for my service, but during the years spent alone meeting with the keepers only on occasion, I found it frustrating that all their planning seemed to be directed at maintaining their status as a conquered people. I only ever saw one man pushing this synod toward active measures. While they planned how to keep themselves hidden, one man wanted to attack. While they decided the best ways to foil the breeders, one man wanted to plot the downfall of the final empire. When I rejoined my people, I found that man still fighting. Alone, condemned for fraternizing with thieves and rebels, he quietly accepted his punishment. She smiled. That man went on to free us all. She took his hand. Cett sat, astonished. The men I read about, Cett, Tyndall said quietly. These were not the men who sat and planned the best ways to hide. They fought. They sought victory. Sometimes they were reckless, and other men called them fools. Yet when the dice were cast and the bodies counted, they were the men who changed them. I just love learning this about Tyndall, that she has just thought, what a man, for Cett all this time. He is a real man. He's a badass. He's like she said, the people she read about, a real
Mhm.
like in the flesh hero person, who changed the history and stuff like that. I just thought that that's the only type of person that Tyndall could ever love and want to be with. So
Yeah.
I really like that.
And it's so interesting how Sazed is so worried about not being a man and that stuff. And her
Hmm.
response makes his worry seem like, you think I really want that anymore? You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
That
you
too. I
think
like that
that's
part.
something I'd even feel attraction to or desire
Yeah.
for at this point? Like,
I
God,
gave
no. I'd love to have somebody I can just sit and talk with instead, you know?
just Netflix and chill. Like I don't want to
Yeah,
do that
Jesus
anymore.
Christ. I don't want to ever do that again.
It was like 30 straight years of having
Hmm.
children.
And just
Yeah.
sleeping with strange men because they didn't get her pregnant every time, you know?
Yep. It must have been every night.
Yeah.
And
More
yeah,
than
if
that,
she wasn't.
honestly, probably.
Well, yeah, I just meant like, or not when she was pregnant, but anytime she was done
Well,
being
like
pregnant,
whenever, ovulation, right, hits, I bet it was nonstop, like 24 hours a day until she got
ew,
pregnant, you know?
Justin.
Yeah.
Ew, ew.
You gotta
That's
think, people who do
awful.
eugenics stuff with people, they get really specific about it, you know?
I haven't had enough of men.
Yeah, I can't blame her. But
That's
not
part
in
of
a
my
way that makes her
attraction to you,
sexist.
Season.
Yeah.
She's like
Not in a
that
way
you
that makes her
don't have a dick.
sexist, though. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I'll go to my quote line. It's from when Breeze and Clubs are talking about how they had, joined Kelsier and they're still doing his stuff after everything fell apart. We won't last another month, Clubs said. It wasn't idle pessimism. Breeze knew people well enough to tell when they were. Yet here we are. I spent all day making Ska feel better about the fact their families were slaughtered. You spent all day training soldiers that, with or without your help, will barely last a few heartbeats against a determined foe. We follow a boy of a king who doesn't seem to have a shade of a clue exactly how bad his predicament is. Why? Club shook his head. Kelsier gave us a city, made us think we were responsible for protecting it. But we aren't that kind of people. We're thieves and scammers. We shouldn't care. I mean, I've gotten so bad that I soothe scullery maids so that they'll have a happier time at work. I might as well start dressing in pink and carrying around flowers. I could probably make quite a bundle at weddings. Club snorted. Then he raised his cup. To the survivor. May he be damned for knowing us better than we knew ourselves. Breeze raised his own cup. Damn him, he agreed quietly. I just like it because they're just showing up, how much their character has changed from the beginning of the first book and how, like you said, Kelsier knew them better. Like you go back to the first book, he said that he picked he picked everyone in the crew, not because they were like the best for the job or anything, but because they were good men.
It's got to be frustrating to a guy like Breeze who tries to control everyone around him to have somebody like Kelsier who knows how to control and read him so well.
I think it's very cute. I never would have thought that. And now looking back, I see that he did pick them to leave the city to them. And the part where he like kind of delegates all their jobs for them. They're just kind of like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's funny to
I
do that
was,
without telling people, you
I
know?
didn't know that I was getting hired for a job.
Yeah, by the way, you're the treasurer now. Wait, what?
Hmm. And he picked them so well, they stayed around to do the job, which is crazy.
All right, and then I'll go into a couple comments we had gotten. So just going on to this goes on to the Well of Ascension, chapters 17 through 22 episode. Now, this first one, I don't remember the conversation we were having about it, but we'll just go through it. This is from Andreas T. Regarding the discussion on the existence of a cannery, it's easy to default to think in medieval times as such a common fantasy setting, so I want to point out that Mistborn setting is not medieval times. It's more similar to 16th to 17th century, or at just before the Industrial Revolution in our world, although with some notable differences in tech due to some things happening differently from our world.
Yeah, I remember talking about that, about how that cannery seemed like pretty advanced technology because they were saying it was new, you know? I do make the mistake of thinking of it as a fantasy world, just like or a medieval world, just as he says. But no, it obviously is not. This commenter is correct.
Yeah, but I changed it in my head. Like,
Well, I don't see the city or anything like that in my head, but it's easy for me to think of the technology as being stagnated in that time, you know?
yeah. Like, they don't have cars or anything.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a bit later.
Yeah, the time period there, I always kind of see it as like an industrial period, but the the technology is purposefully all over the place because like there have been some references to some people having pocket watches, and yet there is no
Oh, yeah,
gunpowder or
yeah.
guns.
Hmm. Well, that's what you have when you have a tightly controlled, like, long-term super god ruler who can. Well, also I noticed that in Magic Worlds, technology would tend to kind of go at a totally different pace because there's things you wouldn't need to invent because you have access to people with magics, you know.
Yeah. Kind of like the Wizarding World, where they don't, they kind of live a little less, they don't have electricity and stuff, because they don't need
Yeah,
it.
they
Like,
don't need it.
they don't
But
have
they have the difference
chlorine.
there is they have the things Muggles have made to put in, you
Yeah,
know.
they
Or in a
did
world
take
like
indoor
this, they
plumbing and
don't.
stuff.
Yeah. Also, having such a slave class too stops you from needing technological things because who needs to develop all these complex like mining machines when you can just send hundreds of thousands of people down there to grab the ATM instead? You know.
Yeah, that's kind of inefficient. That's what I was thinking.
Hmm.
It's like,
Well,
you
yeah,
don't
if you
even.
invented something, it'd be a lot easier, you know. But there's no need to even think about it because you have no shortage, you know. And the people up top don't care or notice really.
I was like, you couldn't give them like a tool or something so they don't scrape their arms, like grabbing the geodes.
What's the point? If you always replacing them, there's no point in putting the resource into it.
It just would be more efficient, I think.
How? It wouldn't be more efficient. They'd find the same number of things. And they'd be less desperate to find things down there because they'd be more comfortable. You don't want that
I
either,
know
you
it's
know?
run by cruelty, evilness, Justin.
Yeah. But I'm saying in a world where that's outlawed, you'd need to come up with a different answer. And you wouldn't want to pay all the people to go down there, so coming up with some kind of tech feat would become more valuable. That's just something I always think is interesting in Magic universes. And again, hardcore nightmare slave universes on a level that is almost unheard of.
All right, and then the second comment we had received, it's on the same episode from Crinkochet 4814. For some mysterious reason, after listening to 29 episodes, I have a strong feeling that Sheta will love Warbreaker, which is an eventual future book we will read.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
What is this nightmare book going to be about then?
Hmm.
You got me really scared for this book, listener.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's a good book. I enjoyed it a lot.
Hey, spoiler. Spoiler that it's a good book and you enjoyed it.
I will just say that I feel like even a quote unquote bad Brandon Sanderson book is still a really good book compared to a lot of other books.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a lot of bad books out there. She just reading
Yeah.
Akinator. Or Akatar, not Akinator.
Qatar, yeah. Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
there's a lot of things I could say about that book, but I won't say it here.
All right. Well, now let's look at next week's chapters we will be reading. So next week we will be reading 5 chapters, chapters 39 through 43.
You know, the way you set that up, when you say 5 chapters, pause, I always expect you're going to say like 39 through 40 and have us be like, what? And you'll be like, you'll see, or something stupid like that.
It does a weird
Like
thing.
it's
Where
a
it's
big...
chapter 39,
Well, like it's...
39.1, 39.4.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we get to the point where it's like, if you want Vin to Elend to page 393. If you want her to pick Zane, go to page 200.
Oh, no. 39 through 43?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So we have that. So now let's jump to the plugs.
All right. You can follow my Instagram, Sheta_low for art and crafts. With in October we're doing a Monster Girls prompt list for Inktober. It's me and Justin. You can come check that out too. I'm not sure when this one's gonna post out, but
This episode will come out middle of October.
okay. Then if you're not already following along, go and check it out because it's gonna be really fun.
I say basically the same thing, but fill in Profanity Beaver instead of anything else. Yes, same with those daily prompt list thingamajig.
Listen, you gotta put more salesmanship into your pitch, your plug.
It's better than literal. It's literally more pleasurable than taking ecstasy to go to my page. How's that?
Oh my gosh, Justin. That's just a lie.
Plus,
No,
by the
it's
time-
the truth.
let's be honest, by the time this episode comes out mid-October, Justin, you're already going to be behind in your daily drawing things.
That one, I'm usually only a day or two behind on those ones because they're drawn a lot faster than other arts are.
I always thought it was like all of a sudden you get to the last like day or like couple days afterwards, it's like, oh, here's the last 5.
Well, it'll be like that from time to time. If I couldn't do them, I'll post 5 in a day. I expect this year to be pretty smooth. We'll see. Depends what happens.
Why? We've had such a bad year.
People don't need to know about that.
Why do you suddenly expect it to change?
Everything's
You
gonna
gotta
go Justin for going forward.
Oh gosh. I'm gonna knock
Alright.
on wood.
All right, and then for if you just want Cosmic Chronicle stuff, you know, wherever if you want to join in like the other people did with the comments, wherever you're listening, leave a comment, leave a review, and I will speak it on here as long as it's one that I know how to find. Like I know
Speak it
reviews on
here.
Apple Podcast, Podcast Addict. I've been able to find those reviews. I know Spotify and YouTube, I can find comments on those. Other places, I don't know if they allow it, or if they do, I don't know how to read it. If you aren't able to leave a review like that, but you still want to contact us, you can also email us at cosmicchronicles@gmail.com. You can give us a message. I'll speak it on here, and Justin Sheta will react, being like, "Oh wow, thanks." And
No,
yeah.
not next time. Next comment I'm going to respond negatively towards no matter what it is.
Or you can also, respond to us on Key Amongst Ancient Letter, and at formerly known as Twitter, at Cosmeachron, COSMERECHRON, and same thing. We'll probably respond to that. And yeah, that's what we have for all that. So everyone, then over the next week, go out there, have fun, maybe press play the next time, play and listen to us next time you decide to pleasure yourself.
Whoa!
And-
No!
Hey, it's only a maybe.
No!
It's only a maybe.
It's just a suggestion we put out there.
No, don't.
All right, and so everyone have fun. Bye.
But
Oh
don't
my
have that
God.
kind of fun.
Oh my goodness. But we do want to start a Patreon if you do want to have that kind of fun.
I
That's
never
only
said
fans
that.
fun, Sheta.
I have not said that. That is not
That's
endorsed
basically
by
what
this.
Joe is saying.
That is
For the
no,
two.
no.
Hey, you started it, Joe.
Just say goodbye.
Hey, bye.